Prayers and protests marking the first papal visit to Ireland in almost 4 decades. Today, Pope Francis acknowledging the failure of the Catholic Church to properly address what he calls repugnant clerical sex abuse crimes. Pope Francis arriving in Dublin this morning for a 2-day visit that's expected to include private meetings with some victims of abuse.
Non posso che riconoscere il grave scandalo.
Speaking at a reception at Dublin Castle, the Pope calling the abuse of young people by members of the Church a grave scandal, which remains a source of pain and shame for the Catholic community. Ireland's Prime Minister describing the crisis as a stain on our state.
People kept in dark corners, behind closed doors, cries for help that went unheard. And these wounds are still open, and there is much to be done to bring about justice and truth and healing for the victims and survivors.
While crowds did turn out, thousands greeting the Pope with cheers, Ireland has seen a number of changes since the last papal visit in 1979, when both divorce and contraception were illegal. In just recent years, the once deeply Catholic country has approved abortion and same-sex marriage in referendums. Demonstrations rolling out in the streets of Dublin, some protesters wearing baby shoes around their necks, saying the young victims are not forgotten, and demanding more action from the Vatican on clergy abuse. Calls for justice as Rohingya refugees marched in Bangladesh on this, the first anniversary since the start of the army crackdown that forced them to flee Myanmar. A brutal push the United Nations has called a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. Myanmar, a Buddhist-majority country, has said its military launched a legitimate counterinsurgency operation in response to a violent campaign from within the Rohingya Muslim minority. But rights groups describe Myanmar's actions as a campaign of violence and arson aimed at driving out the Muslim population. More than 700,000 Rohingya have taken shelter in Bangladesh since last August.